Okay, so you're finally at the fun part of chemistry, the chemical reactions. You're finally there, more than halfway through the semester. So let's make sure you can read them correctly. On the left side of a chemical equation, you'll see one thing, two things, lots of things, but you'll see things. That's what you start with. Those are the reactants. And then on the right side, that's the new thing that you end up with. So it's new, it's not what you had. And then this is the product. You'll notice that we have these little parentheses right here, and right here. And that's for the phases. So you can have a gas phase, you can have a solid phase like this one, you can have a liquid phase, and then you can also have something that we'll see soon is an AQ phase, which is aqueous. What that means is it dissolves in water. You know, you don't just have to have water around to dissolve things. Other solvents can dissolve things. But in General Chemistry 1, most of the stuff you're going to be working with, yeah, it's water soluble. So we use this quite a bit, that AQ for aqueous. Other things to note. You read it left to right, so you've got your reactants on the left, and they produce, yield, make. That arrow indicates that the reaction is happening, has happened, is done with, and you've got your product. So you've got to always have an arrow. You also always put just pluses. We don't ever have minuses. So let's say that you made 2 products. Well, then you would have a plus sign on this side, and you'd have another product there. Let's say that these came together and then they lost an electron, okay? Well, if we say it's losing an electron, what that is it's saying an electron is the product. So you would write it as a product. So you don't ever put like minus electron on this side. If you lose something or change something, it's always something that goes on the right-hand side. Lastly, every once in a while, you might see something on top of the arrow. You might see like a little triangles. That means heat. You won't be tested on that, but just don't let it freak you out if you see something on top of the arrow. Sometimes reaction conditions are given there. Like it's like giving someone a few more details about a reaction. So let's see if you've got it all figured out. Going up here. All right, so reactants. So there's the chemicals that are initially combined, and they're allowed to react, and they are written on the which side of the equation? Yeah, the left. Then we've got your products. They're formed during the reaction. They're written on the right side of the reaction arrow. The number of each reactant or product. I actually probably should go back to our reaction and talk about that. So if we look at this reaction again, you'll notice that there's a number in front of this. And you'll notice there's not really a number here and there's not really a number here. So the number in front, we call it the coefficient. And it tells how many of that thing that there are. So since there's a 2 in front, it means that there are 2 B's. There's a B and another B, a total of 2 of them. Over here, there's nothing written there. And so like in most of chemistry, it's an assumed 1. Also over here, it's an assumed 1. You know how like when you do NaCl, you don't put Na1, Cl1. We just assume that you know it's 1-to-1. It's the same idea. So if we're looking at the coefficients, those are the big numbers in front. These little subscripted numbers, they matter also. They tell how many of the thing they're next door to that there is. And if you've forgotten this, if you've got a parentheses, then they apply to everything inside the parentheses. So the little numbers aren't the same thing as the big numbers in front. Let's go back to the review. So a blank is used to indicate, the number of each reactant or product is shown using a coefficient. And again, that's the big number in front. Coefficient. A blank is used to indicate that a reaction has occurred. You would read it, like if you're reading a reaction out loud to someone, then you would read it as will produce, yields, forms, something like that. So that's the arrow. A blank sign is placed between different reactants or products if more than one is present. Remember, we never do negatives, they're always just positive signs. The state of matter for symbol is placed behind each reaction component. Remember, S for solid, G for gas, L for liquid, AQ for aqueous. And lastly, the theory of conservation of mass. That applies to all reactions. And what that means is that the number of atoms that you start with on the left, it's got to be the same as the ones on the right. They don't just like disappear. So they just end up being combined differently.